Coming to you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
I'm Jim Check. You're watching Now Media. I'm with Loyal Wooldridge, City Councillor.
Good to see you. Always a pleasure to be here.
We haven't talked for a while. I think we did an interview. It's got to be about a year, no? More?
Over a year.
Over a year.
I forgot what floor you were on.
And we got the live shot in behind me there of the city of Kelowna. Traffic flowing. Must be doing something, right? Traffic's still moving here.
The snow has stopped, which is nice.
That's a weird weekend, wasn't it? We had this, I think it was Sunday, beautiful day. Like absolutely. And I thought, that's it. Winter's over.
Yeah.
And Monday, you look out the window and just like, where did that come from? And then today again, it was like bookended. At least it was bookended with goodness as opposed to like bookended with two blizzards, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess we'll get the tough stuff. Are you going to run?
Undecided at this point.
What?
Yeah.
Come on now. Undecided on whether you're going to run for mayor or city councillor.
There's just a lot to consider. We'll dive into that. I've started a few new things. And, sorry to delay the interview last week. Obviously, I thought it was best with the tragedy in
I mean, that is always sad when British Columbia makes international news and not for good reasons.
Absolutely.
And, terrible tragedy, and that community will reel from that for decades.
Absolutely.
For decades. I grew up in a small town, and I know what that will do to that small community.
Yes. Yeah. So our hearts are with Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah. I wanted to get you in because I've had all the some of them have been already and kind of in their specialty. And you're a businessman. You've been in business in Kelowna. You ran your own shop there for a while. So you understand that. And you had a short-term rental. So you kind of understand that business perspective. Mm-hmm. And I imagine you bring some of that perspective to council when decisions are being made.
Yeah, I love being an entrepreneur because it's really about solving problems at the end of the day. And in government, I think that's what we have to do. And of course, before we go any further, I need to say that everything I say on this interview per the code of conduct is my opinion only.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I know like in decisions usually in as an elected official, whether that's provincial, municipal, or federal, lots of times we hear, well, let's get a committee. When you're in business, the committee is you, right? Do you know what I mean? Like the committee is you. I got a phone call, I get something, I got a problem. Or the committee in my head makes the decision.
Or you don't get paid, and then you have to, pay a consultant or someone to help you.
Most people in business, the committee is themselves, and they rattle it around in their heads for a couple seconds, and they make a decision.
Yeah, you're the HR person, you're the janitor, you're everything. So
firefighter, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like problems come to you, and you make decisions. Does it frustrate you sometimes in council? As in business, you get to make a decision and you get to move on. Like decide, like Elon Musk. I mean, you drive a Tesla.
Right.
You understand that. Like one of the things they say about his biggest kind of like his biggest kind of like plus is that he's a decision maker. Like, and it's immediate. Like, I mean, it's fast, right? Because he runs like 8, 9 companies. Mm-hmm. You're in council. Some of the stuff kind of drags. Is that painful for you?
What I'm really proud of with the city of Kelowna, and I can say this confidently, is that throughout the organization, it really has an entrepreneurial spirit and always looking for different ways that we can approach different problems. It's something that I was actually really surprised about. Obviously, through legislative requirements, that can get a little bit challenging in terms of timelines because there's accountability and transparency that we have to meet. But overall, with the city of Kelowna, over the last 8 years, the 2 terms I've served, the staff we have are amazing, and they are coming up with really cool entrepreneurial aspects to conquer some of our biggest challenges, like on the economy, for example. That's one of them.
So we had the highest unemployment there for a bit in Canada, which is likely related to our construction industry.
Well, and also more young people participating in the job market. We actually attended a luncheon lately with Andrew Ramlow from Rennie Group, and he was showing the different demographics of people entering the workforce. So while we didn't have more people moving to Kelowna, and we saw that little bit of a spike there to the job vacancy, a lot of it has to do with more people wanting to engage in the workforce, which I think is a great thing. From my perspective, that's something in Kelowna we need to stay focused on, is how we can keep young people here with good paying jobs, because we've been known for peaches and beaches for a long time, but the food and beverage sector, tourism sector, while it's been a backbone, it's not going to support young people long term.
And it's hurting for the last while. I mean, it hurt with COVID, then it hurt with the forest fires, then it hurt with the short-term rentals affected that as well. And I think the last interview you and I did was short-term rentals, maybe when you were running for NDP for the province there, and I think you got a phone call right after our interview.
Yeah, we did do an interview on that one. And you know, what I'm pleased to share is that we're actually advocating for exactly what I was saying in that interview now.
You've been an advocate for it, for sure. And you got, I guess, I don't know how bad the punishment was, but you got a phone call that you're not towing the party line.
You know, when I joined council in 2018, our vacancy rate for rentals was below 1%. We're now above 6%, and that's because we brought so much on market. Short-term rentals do affect the long-term rental market, but at the City of Kelowna, we took a really progressive view to embrace those housing targets, and obviously our vacancy rate is showing success there, and the housing minister.
Some people say it's even higher than that, though, like the real number is higher, and then there's a lot still coming on, too, that were built with this purpose-built rentals, this GST rebate.
Well, it's fluid, right? Like it's a snapshot in time. Any stat you get is going to measure a year. The housing minister is quite impressed. She's been quite public about that and wants to work with us on hopefully expediting some partial approvals to bring some of those short-term rentals back online for some of these big events we've got coming up.
Yeah, because the biggest complaint, and I've heard a lot from people, are the ones that the city and council zoned, approved, and people made their investment decision based on those zonings and those approvals, right? They bought properties like Aqua, they bought properties like Caban, and then they felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath them, and a lot of them don't cash flow because they're expensive properties. Some of them were, you know, like Aqua, like $1,300 or more a square foot, and they don't cash flow at normal rental prices. Like nobody's paying $7,000 a month for a, you know, 900 square foot condominium.
Well, yeah, and that was the argument point a year and a half ago, was we created that tourism commercial zone back in 1999, and people were buying a certain product with a certain use. And from my perspective, that's how you should control any sort of operation is through land use and zoning, and that's what we're proposing to the province is bring that back, and that's why I pushed back on that, because folks bought units that had that use, and then it was removed through provincial legislation. So hopeful that we can see that come back online.
The other thing is crime and safety, big part of business, right? We've seen the frustrations. I interviewed a young man that runs a clothing store just down there on Bernard on the block there. I interviewed him, and then obviously the mayor after that, and then Macklin McCall talking about crime and safety here. And I was in Tokyo for 10 days. You might have heard this story already. In Tokyo for 10 days, and I walked around at 3 o'clock in the morning in a strange city in different places and never felt unsafe at all. And I wouldn't do it here. I wouldn't do it here in downtown. I wouldn't walk around at 3 a.m. So it can be done. That's the largest city in the world. Can be done. So how are we moving forward? I know like a lot of the stuff has to do with, you know, like the province and the federal government. But how does Kelowna do it? You guys did do a good letter. I'll end there. You guys did a great letter. It got national attention. The mayor and council did that letter, and I think it brought a lot of attention to it.
So, and you hit the nail on the head, is that we're really at the mercy of the federal and provincial government of some failing policy that's just outdated. We're dealing with poverty. People are losing their housing. Our bail system needs reform, which I know the federal government is working on. And then from a provincial perspective, when it comes to mental health and substance use, we've seen people's actual brain function deteriorate with the amount of overdoses they're sustaining from synthetic drugs. And so from my perspective, and the mayor has been quite vocal on it, that compassionate and voluntary care is definitely something that's needed. Our superintendent has spoke about it. And these are some of the aspects that other countries have utilized. And I was in Spain last year, same thing. You don't see people.
Denmark, I've heard from lots of people,
in that level of crisis. And so these people need a different degree of intervention and support. And that's something we're going to continue to advocate for, because at a local government level, we hear it all the time because we're at every grocery store and every event. But the tools that we can employ are bylaws and hiring more police, which is already a $69 million contract, our biggest line item in our budget. So we need to see interventions from those higher levels.
Because it's tough for small businesses, and you can relate, you know, like that pane of glass, you know, like it's below the deductible usually. And so, you know, like I think there was one, we did a story on a pizza shop that, you know, in 3 months, three front windows, and, you know, and you got to sell a lot of pizzas to make up for that glass, right? Like, plus the inconvenience, and then staff don't feel safe, all kinds of things that kind of play into that, right?
There's all these dynamic pressures that combine and affects business and tourism as well. And we're very keen to that. We're working closely with the RCMP. We know it's not acceptable. And we know that big policy change, business owners can't wait for. So, the RCMP and Superintendent Gables rolled out a new plan for the downtown area in Rutland. And we are starting to see some improvements, but I'll be frank, it's really frustrating when I see a headline in the news that a repeat offender has been let out yet again.
Yeah, that's that letter you guys wrote, crazy. Like the one that just blows me away. If I'm the judge, I'm sitting there, 32 failures to appear. Yeah, I go ahead. I think it's 35 is my cutoff. Like, what is the cutoff? 32 failures to appear, and he lets them go again. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it 35? Is it 50? Is it 100? How many failures to appear where you say, like, you know what? I'm not letting you out. You're going to stick around for this court case because you don't show up.
Yeah. And we recently...
it's madness, isn't it?
It is madness. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I can't fault judges when they have to base a decision off of legislation and off of what is the law.
You mean common sense doesn't come into play?
I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. But it's incredibly frustrating.
Well, you can see how the public is very frustrated. Do you know what I mean? Like that, because you read that, and it's that's why it got national attention, because you read it and it's ludicrous. Like Absolutely. It's absolutely ludicrous, right? And you just, it's not like Bobby, like whatever one time, and then you can say, well, you can argue. There's no arguing that.
Yeah. Anyway. I mean, we released a white paper last September that shows British Columbia has the lowest charge rates in the country. We also have a population that has the lowest confidence in our justice system in the country. And so those are big indicators that something's not working, and we need to
there's that I can't remember the name of it now, where the cops is lying, they're going to arrest because it's pointless. Right. Do you know what I mean? Just like I got to do paperwork. They beat me out, because I remember talking to one of the sergeants here, and he said, like, I arrested that guy 3 times in one day. Every time he beats me out, I got to do the paperwork. Mm-hmm. And they don't do anything. So what am I doing, right? They just, I think it's called a drive-by or whatever. You just like look the other way, or because it's frustrating for them. It's frustrating for everybody.
Now, I am starting to see some sentiment change. I saw a repeat shoplifting offender that was shoplifting small amounts from, I think, a superstore. And the judge actually did penalize with, I think, about 100 and some odd days in jail. That said it wasn't the dollar amount. It was the fact that you've continually done this. You don't care. There's no respect for the law. Yeah. Or the business that's operating.
Absolutely. Because it gets tougher and tougher. 8 years, almost 8 years. Yeah. 8 years come October. The day after my birthday, actually.
Okay. Happy birthday to you, hopefully.
Election day. What do you think your biggest accomplishment that you've kind of pushed for? What would you say that is?
Oh, well, some of them are smaller wins, and some of them aren't like big and flashy. Like, for example, I've been a dog with a bone about getting new offerings in our recycling program, which rolls out in May with like flex plastics and jars and those types of things. So that's happening in May.
You sit on the regional district board.
I'm the chair of that board as well. I spearheaded getting libraries into our new rec centers at Parkinson and Glenmore. I was the chair of that board as well, so I'm really proud of that. And then collectively, our park system that's been building out, no council has built as many parks as we have. And probably the one thing I'm most proud of that I don't think gets enough attention is our airport. Like, we're getting a 5-star hotel, a new parkade. We just opened the new terminal building, and that's really the hub and what's going to drive our economy moving forward. And Sam Samadar is a great leader there.
That's kind of like the lifeblood of our community. It really is. That airport, right? I mean, that is the big thing, right?
And when you look at our $1 billion budget, the majority of it is actually for YLW Airport. Most municipalities don't have that, and it's fully self-funded. Not a single tax dollar goes towards operating the airport. So it can be a bit misleading when you look at our $1 billion budget, because almost 20% goes out to the airport for the cost of that capital. But I'm very, very proud of YLW.
What's something that you wish council would have had a redo on?
I wouldn't necessarily say something that we need to redo. I'm probably not as happy as I would like to be when it comes to crime and safety. That's probably, and I think all of us share that same sentiment, is that needs to be our #1 priority for the remainder of this term, and stay laser focused on that. And I know the mayor was just in Ottawa last week, and he'll be in Victoria next week, again, advocating to those governments, because that's really where we need the most support.
Over 50% of British Columbians live in fear right now. Yeah. I mean, that that number is absolutely atrocious as well, right? I mean, that shouldn't be like that, right? I think Renee Merrifield and I did a whole show on that, you know, like people's perception, the crime and safety, right? There's people that won't go downtown, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's not acceptable, and it's something that as a country we need to deal with. It's not just a Kelowna problem or a BC problem. It's across Canada and North America, frankly.
and like you said, you've been to Spain, and I've been to Tokyo, and I was blown away. Like, I mean, there's no litter on the streets. Like, there's no litter in the. I would sleep on the subway floor. It's that clean, like it's spotless, and everything just seems to work there, right? And everybody seems very respectful. The culture is definitely very fast moving. And a lot of people.
You know,
a lot of people.
I asked folks in Spain and in Austria. I said, you know, I don't see people with a needle hanging out of their arm as I'm walking down the street, and they said, well, they would be taken to a healthcare facility. Why would they be? So you know, we need to get to that point. There's a lot of work to do.
I think they should make politicians walk down East Hastings to go to work every day by themselves without a police escort.
Right.
Maybe things would just speed up just a little bit, right?
I do that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at you, leading the way.
Sadly, I don't have a police escort ever, so.
Not big enough deal yet, right?
Exactly.
If you do run, what do you want to do for the next 4 years? Like, what do you hope to accomplish?
I would definitely say that the underscore is the economy, and we need to continue to grow our central Okanagan economy, not just Kelowna, but outreaching, whether that's through industrial. Again, I'm the only person on council that's under 60 years old, and I'm not young, I'm 40.
But you call me an old man?
But we have to focus on how we're going to keep people here that are graduating from Okanagan College.
We need to keep our youth here, that's the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be my number one mandate. Obviously, we're seeing that federally with what's going on with the U.S. So from my perspective, if we're to deal with poverty, if we're to deal with housing, all of it hinges on making sure that people have good employment.
I've heard a rumor that this group FourChange is back into play. I've heard this group that was. I think it was when Sharon Shepherd was mayor, and Colin Basran was elected the first time. I don't think you were part of it.
Nope.
You weren't.
No.
Colin Basran was elected the first time. There was a group come out that was called FourChange, and they put Colin Basran forward, and I can't remember the other councillors that were put.
Well, I don't think they did a mayor,
group.
though. I think they only did 4 councillors.
Yeah, they put
and it was
forward.
Walter. Actually, they brought Walter back.
Oh, okay. But then it was Colin and
as a councillor.
and
then I think
who the other
Gail
people.
Given was one of them.
Yeah.
And Jerry Zimmerman at the time, and I forget who the 4th was.
What do you think? And then there's also the BC Conservative Party is saying they're going to do a slate. Do you think these groups have a place in municipal politics?
I firmly believe that partisanship in local government doesn't have a place. What I love most about this level of government is that a candidate can have a Liberal or a Conservative or a New Democrat vote for them. And the moment we start seeing this partisanship enter local government, I fear that we're really going to lose that flavor of our free thinking. Hey, I ran under a partisan banner provincially, and I understand how challenging it is to get your perspective across. And I think the beauty of our local government is that you can really get a flavor of each individual person's contribution. So I'm adamantly opposed to party politics in local government. There's different advocacy groups and different. I think there was a. Livable Kelowna was one last time around.
But this FourChange group is obviously was driven, like, I mean, it has more money behind it and stuff like that. I mean, does it have a place in local politics, or is it something that, like a few people with some money shouldn't be deciding what Kelowna gets or doesn't get?
Well, I think what's changed since then is there's a whole bunch of other laws with Elections BC around how these types of groups can be funded. Back then, that wasn't necessarily the case. So you have to be registered. There's all these parameters that have to operate. And I think that's fine. The more people involved in the democratic process, the better. People are going to have their own interests, whether that's an environmental or a business interest. And they're
Would you be a part of a group like
candidates.
that? Would you, if they came and said, hey, you want to be a part of this slate?
I don't believe in slates either. I do believe in filling out all the questionnaires and aligning with people that have my same ethos, but I'm definitely not wanting to kiss the ring and be beholden to a certain group of people to vote a certain way. I think a certain level of autonomy in local government is really important, and bringing your own lived experience.
Yeah, because we don't even have a ward system here. It is, and I'm going to ask you another tough question because I interviewed Sharon Simpson.
Yeah.
And this is kind of why I promised her I'd interview all the elected officials. And she said that the councillors were being muzzled, and that because she couldn't get access. And Sharon Simpson obviously was a councillor in the past, and she's very outspoken.
Yeah.
Right? And Simpson Covenant
she'll text me if she doesn't like this conversation. So
this is the promise I made to you, Sharon.
Yeah.
And do you feel muzzled?
I don't feel muzzled. I think whenever we're representing our role, people are always going to view us as a councillor. We need to be very conscious that we're representing the city of Kelowna and not just my own personal interests. And I work really hard to make sure that I consider what's in the best interest of the whole city and what us as council have agreed on to be our priorities. So I don't feel muzzled. Can get me in a little bit of trouble every so often, but...
Did you feel that you were muzzled in your first term with Colin Basran?
You know, I think as with anything, you don't want people just running off and you know, jeopardizing a certain decision in advance of council voting. I just think that whenever someone is speaking, they need to do it from an educated place and represent the priorities of council. So no, I don't feel muzzled.
In either one?
No.
One more than the other?
No, you get flack. I think any leader or mayor might not necessarily love what you said. But you know,
two different styles, though, right? Two different styles of. Is there a style you prefer?
No, I think you know, both mayors have brought different aspects. You know, I really liked Colin's progressiveness with the city and how he drove forward a lot of initiatives when it came to development and building out active transportation. And Tom's brought a really strong business acumen that I don't think is highlighted enough. Our finance strategy has really changed with our new CFO at the city, and the reliance on tax dollars. Only 20% of what we fund is funded through taxation. And so Tom's brought a really strong business acumen. And I think the one thing for people to consider as we go into the election is no matter who sits in that chair, these big issues are going to be the big issues. And anyone that's promising a simple, easy solution is not necessarily telling you the truth. So I know that he's worked extremely hard on crime and safety, and I don't think that gets enough attention.
Gord Lovegrove was in as well, interviewed him, and he did declare he's running.
Okay.
He's running as, again, he's running as a city councillor.
Got it.
Who's your I guess, do you have a bestie there, or you have a councillor that you kind of like see more eye to eye with than others?
Well, I have to say that Ryan Don last term always said, you know, you have to rest in the decision of the 9. And sometimes you go into a meeting and you don't necessarily know which direction you're going to go. And through the debate and through chatting with all the colleagues, you can come to a resolution. I would say, to answer your question, I'm closest to Rick Weber. He's been really amazing to work with because he's been super pragmatic, and being his first term, he has brought a different perspective to the table and challenged the status quo, and he's quite frank.
He's promised me a couple of interviews. Still yet to see him.
Okay. Doesn't like him to shy away from a camera. He's used to this.
He's used to it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He hasn't been in front of a camera for Mohini was in as well.
Yeah, I saw that interview.
Yeah. And if you're in the driver's seat, what would your leadership style look like?
I think collaboration is the key, and one thing that we can't lose sight of as any elected official, regardless of your level, is getting out and connecting with the community and making sure that you're representing what people are feeling. And we're very privileged in this role that we get to see information 360 and get to see, you know, this aspect and that aspect, but it's really what people are feeling on the ground that really matters. And you brought up crime and safety and the sense of safety, and that really matters. It's not a tangible, quantifiable key performance indicator, but that shows us that there's a lot more work to do. And it's really important, I believe, as an elected official, that you're getting out there and you're meeting with people and you're understanding where they're coming from.
Final question, Final Jeopardy. Kelowna, your vision of Kelowna in 10 years. Just, I mean, you can use whatever you want, just like your vision of what you would like Kelowna to be in 10 years. You can take as long as you want on the answer.
Well, I would love to see Kelowna being obviously economically growing. I would love to see Kelowna interconnected with many generations of people feeling welcomed here. Some people think that they are only welcome here when it's retirement age, but we have an amazing opportunity with our post-secondary organizations like UBCO and OC and our airport, and to continue to grow our demographic and become a flourishing valley like I know we should be. And The other thing I don't believe we should lose sight of is that we need to grow as a region. It's not just Kelowna, it's the central Okanagan, because some folks may live in West Kelowna but work at a small business in downtown Kelowna, and we can't lose sight of how important it is to work together as a region and all of our partners. So that would be my vision. It's a bit lofty.
Where do you think AI kind of plays into that? Because I can see in my vision where I would see, like, Kelowna kind of will swallow into Lake Country and go past, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it'll just kind of like sprawl a bit as it grows, because I think it's a huge attraction, right? I mean, the valley is an absolute massive attraction, West Kelowna. I mean, it's going to continue to, we've gone up. We look at the sky. You've been in here. How long have you been in Kelowna now?
Oh, 1993, so it's been a very long time.
So longer than me in 1998.
Yeah.
And we look at the skyline here, completely different than what it was.
Yeah.
And, will be a lot of changes, and there'll be rapid changes too, right?
Yeah, and we're going through a growth strategy right now with North Glenmore. I think Mohini spoke about that in her interview, and how we could plan that out differently to be near those employment lands. And we're already integrating AI into how we run the city, with it intaking certain more simple plans like pools and carriage houses. But there's going to be a place for technology to really excel. And again, the airport is looking at what that looks like from a traveler's perspective as well. So
thank you for that, stuff. And thank you for coming in. You had a hard stop at 1:35. It's 1:33. Look at that.
Oh, well, I'm heading to my UNESCO gastronomy committee meeting the mayor has me on, so I don't want to keep them waiting.
I do thank you for coming in, and it is good for councillors and elected officials to kind of like, these longer form interviews are really good to get to know, the city councillor that people are looking at electing, or
Yeah, and it goes beyond the headlines. And as we go into the election season, I think people should consider putting their name on the ballot. We need
There's probably going to be a lot of people on the ballot.
There always is. There always is, but there's some really complex challenges that our community is faced with. And I always encourage everyone every single year is to, if they've got an opinion, get in the arena.
Yeah, armchair quarterbacking, you can actually get up there and do something about it, right?
Exactly.
I don't know, when you decided, like, was it just like a spur of the moment, like, like 2 weeks out and you decided, or was this a thing that you had thinking about for a long time?
I thought about it for many years.
Okay.
I came out of the gate about 8 months before the election with my intention there back in 2018.
Yeah, and I would say to people, if you're serious about it, you can't decide 2 weeks before the election that you're going to run. Otherwise, you might just throw the money away or whatever.
Yeah, or lack thereof.
Or lack whatever. Whatever. But I mean, you got to get out there and meet people, and obviously, if you're interested in running, you should start going to council meetings and understand what the issues are, like what you're actually getting yourself into.
That's important, to get out to the council meetings. And then again, it's meeting with community groups, meeting one-on-one with people at the grocery stores to understand what their priorities are, because you can't understate how important it is to connect with people before an election.
Yeah, so our goal is to get every city councillor and the mayor on. We've had the mayor, we've had Mohini, we've had now you, Loyal, and we've had Gord Lovegrove. Okay. And so we're missing Rick Weber. We've actually, the first one was Luke Stack was actually.
Oh, right.
Luke.
Yeah.
And then, so we're missing just Rick Weber, I believe, and Max.
Yeah.
And Ron Cannon, and they both said they're coming though, and Charlie Hodge. I'm not sure. I've heard that Charlie Hodge isn't running though either. Right?
He's been unwell, so I'm not too sure what Charlie will do, but
he's been a councillor forever as well.
He has. Yeah, just hearing his perspective would be awesome. So hopefully we can get him in here.
Well, I do thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Always a pleasure.
And I do thank you for watching Now Media.
Coming to you live from the Now Media newsroom.